The image of his two final victims would stay with him for all his days. With that act, Kratos knew he could no longer serve his master. He had but one calling now, the death of Ares. He would murder the god of war.
Ares, you will die for what you did that night.
Starting in the business as a theater actor and a vocalist, the transition to voice acting was fairly easy. Because I'm a theater actor, the bigness of voice acting is something I'm familiar with, and the sound of the voice because I sing, that's also something I'm familiar with. So that transition was pretty easy for me. Doing voice work with just a script or just the director in front of you and nobody else in the room, again, was fairly easy. As long as you have a good script and a good director, you can pull it off. It's like reading a monologue. It's been really, really cool to watch what they've done with the character, how he looks, how he feels, delving more into his emotional side. It's been really cool. Never thought he'd get his own Slurpee flavor, man. That's so cool. I mean, it's really cool to walk into 7-Eleven and see that whole thing, up. I never thought it would get to be that big. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm happy about it too. It's cool. I think that the creators in Santa Monica, the people at Sony, I think when I first auditioned for the role, they were open to what I had to bring to it. And so I think in that first game, we set the mold for what he was going to sound like and kind of who he was, and then we kind of built on that in the subsequent games. So I feel I did have a hand in creating Kratos' personality and kind of who he is and how he sees his world, I get this question a lot because Kratos is so over the top with rage and anger. People always ask me, well, where does that come from? How do you pull that out? And all I can tell you is that during the time I've had to do these games, I've been kind of mad at a whole lot of stuff. So it's been really cool to be able to get these sessions and go in and channel all of that rage into Kratos. Because then I don't go out and snap the head off the person who doesn't give me my fries with my order. You know what I mean? So it's been really cool to have that outlet. I'm not sure what the world would be like if I didn't have it. I think there's always been a legitimacy to voice acting. There have been major strides in animation in the past few years, and voice acting really has moved forward in people's minds, that it is very, very legitimate. I think it always has been. And the games help, as the games become more cinematic in their scope, it gives the voice actors something more to play than just some grunts and groans, So we're able to create richer, fuller characters. So when you have the game experience, you have a richer, fuller experience. And so I think, if anything, it's bringing more legitimacy to game world as opposed to game world bringing more legitimacy to voice acting. I do believe that, it has opened the door to a whole new audience for voice actors, such as myself. People that know me from this game don't necessarily know the other things that I've done unless they IMDb me or, something like that. So it's really cool to have that whole new group of people really digging what you do. So I think it, as a voice actor, it really opens up our fan base immensely. I want to see him get some peace. my brother needs some peace. So I'm not sure how that would come about, but it would be nice to see him get some peace. But then he wouldn't be the god of war anymore. So, that's kind of a 6 of one, half a dozen thing. Would love it if he didn't have to go away. If he came back in another game, and was, even more maniacal and just crazed, it would be a lot of fun to do. A narrative element that wasn't there. I think this last game, they let you inside Kratos' mind a little bit more. And I think that's cool. Because you really want to know why the rage is there. I mean, that they made him kill his wife and kid, and that drives him. But he's got so many different layers. I've read reports that, they call him two-dimensional. He gets angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier. And I can kind of see that. But there is a side to Kratos, when he's dealing with, the little girl spirit, and there are things there, and it's a lot to play sometimes. It's great to play. It's great that I got the chance in this game to play those different levels of him. And hopefully, when the people play it, they can see that. I think the problem is that video games are always going to be perceived as children's items first. And until, I don't think that's ever going to change, because they're for kids. Now there are video games that are for more mature audiences. There are older people playing games now. There are kids who grew up playing video games that are now in their 20s and 30s that are still playing video games. So they want something a little more R-rated, and they should be able to have that. But ultimately, video games are marketed toward children, so there's always going to be a little bit more scrutiny, and they're really accessible to kids. I have a mixed thing about the violence in video games. I know that's strange coming from somebody playing one of the most violent characters in games, but like this game here, I have nephews that are young, but I won't let them play this game. It's too much for them. On the other hand, I have some godsons that are older, 18, 19, they love the game. So I think the labels are important. I think the stores should enforce the labels, and I think parents should enforce the labels. Make sure you know what your kid is playing with. That's the biggest thing right there. Voice acting in video games is done in short pieces. Usually you're by yourself with you and just the director, and you give them, 2 or 3 takes of the same line, and you kind of change your inflection depending on the setting and where where you're playing it, where it's taking place. In a animated feature or animated television series, you're usually in the room with your fellow actors, and you get to play off their inflection. So it's more of a conversation. It's less of a monologue, and it's more of a conversation. And you still get direction from your director, but when you hear your fellow actor change their inflection, it may change the way you deliver your line. So you get a more honest performance that way.
I meant to take the secret to the grave, but I see I have no choice. Choose Afro Samurai. Forget revenge. Or fight me to the death for the #2 headband.
No, I didn't realize when I was reading Afro Samurai that it was going to become such a cult classic. That was one of the coolest projects I've worked on to date. It was great to be a part of that team and a part of Sam Jackson's vision for this whole new kind of samurai warrior. So I had a really good time doing it. I'm glad that people really enjoyed the character. Sad he had to die, but I'm glad that people really enjoyed it. I was initially hired as a Sam Jackson sound-alike. So the earlier stuff that I did, the stuff on the video games, it's all to Sam's cadence, trying to mimic his sound, his vocal inflection. But as we started doing, as they hired me to do the Clone Wars series, the director, he kind of wanted me to he liked my voice. So we kept kind of some of Sam's clipness, but we kind of gave him a different voice. So now I think the Mace that you hear on the Clone Wars series is closer to something that I created as opposed to sounding like Sam Jackson. I was really happy that I could sound like Sam Jackson because that opened the door to me getting this series. So thank you, Sam. I appreciate you, brother.
Get that bridge back up!
Oh, yes, sir!
No, I have not been asked to reprise my role as Mace Windu in the upcoming Star Wars The Old Republic online MMO. So what's up with that? Yes, I would definitely direct another show for Broadway. It would be wonderful. I love doing theater. Nobody ever talked about doing a video game inspired Broadway show. But as I think about it and think about the re-release of Tron, the movie that is about being in a video game, I could see it possibly happening. You know, it'd be a nice musical if you could work it out right, work the action out right on stage. That would be the thing, to be able to get the great action scenes on stage. But yeah, it might work, man. But who would be the controller? Would the audience have the controller? I mean, would they be able to change the performance and things that make you go, I don't know. It might be a good idea, man. You might be onto something. I'm doing quite a few things right now. We're actually working on a new Broadway musical set in Harlem, doing the Harlem Renaissance, juxtaposing jazz with hip-hop. I think it's coming along really nice. What else? Doing a lot of theater. We'll be in Houston this summer doing Five Guys Named Mo. Still working on my CD. What else? I think that's enough, don't you? I hope this interview works for you, brother. You take care. Let me know. Peace.